Let me invite our speaker, Sister JoAnn Butrin, Dr. Butrin, to come at this time. Let me just give you a brief introduction, because I know as a speaker she wants to speak. She has something to share with you. But just very briefly, I met Dr. Butrin when she was first starting out in ministry as a nurse. I was a student. She was a young nurse, came to Valley Forge and ministered to the students. She's been in compassion ministries basically her whole life. She served in the Congo and Africa for 14 years. And then now, for the last many years, has been in the Assemblies of God World Missions. Does a lot of different ministries. The one that she is the director of is called Compassion Link. But her heart is, and she's written books, she's traveled, her heart is for people to find Christ, especially people who are desperately needy. So Dr. JoAnn's been here probably 3 times before, and I'm going to just give the microphone over to you so you have some time. We have time. We're right on time. No problem at all. The food's going to be ready. So be a blessing and be blessed as you share. So thank you for being with us. Yes.
Add my congratulations to this occasion. It's a wonderful occasion. I was so honored to be asked to be the speaker for this. I was just like, wow, because I feel so connected to this church. Over the years, every time I've come on furlough, I've come to speak to you, and every time you took up an offering and sent me out with money, you helped me get back to the field of my calling. It's just been such a wonderful connection and partnership, so I was delighted to be able to say yes and to be here with you today. I'm a Pennsylvania girl. I grew up in Berwick, Pennsylvania. I don't know if you know where that is. It's not too far up the road here. And God called me to be a missionary when I was just 5 years old. My dad was a pastor. I met a lot of missionaries when I was a child. And yet, you know, by the time it was time for me to go to Africa, I had never been anywhere. I mean, coming to Philadelphia from Berwick was like a big deal for us. That's when we wanted to do something really special. We came to Philadelphia, you know, to go shopping at the malls. We didn't have any malls where I live. So anyway, coming back here just fills me with such floods of memory. But I have been so delighted, and I tell Brother Emil this quite often, how delighted I am to be a missionary sent out by Pennsylvania Delaware District. Because I've been so well cared for and taken care of all these years. When I was in Congo, I worked in a little bush hospital and clinic, and I soon learned that when you treat people's physical needs, it's not very hard then to talk to them about Jesus and about their spiritual needs as well. And so I was just, all my life, I've been able to combine compassion ministries with proclamation of the Word of God. And, you know, it's just beautiful, isn't it? And as I visit your history, I see that's what you've been doing as well. I do remember having dinner with one of your pastors as I came through, and they were saying, you know, we just don't know what to do. People are moving to the suburbs, and they aren't coming here, and we don't know if we should move, you know. And I just remember as I encouraged that pastor, this place, this city needs a lighthouse, and I'm so grateful that you've hung in here and kept the course and not done that moving out. You know, my title of my message today, it's not going to be very long, I promise. It's called Ebenezer, Thus Far the Lord Has Helped. Let me just set the stage for you. I'm taking this message from 1 Samuel 7. Verses 2 to 12. And rather than read it, I'm just going to paraphrase the story for you. You know how the Israelites were always doing great with the Lord, and then they would fall off and start building idols and worshiping idols, and they did that again. They were worshiping idols, and the Philistines were overtaking them in battle all the time. And so they came to Prophet Samuel, and they said, we got to do something. You know, they're just destroying us, and we can't seem to win a battle. What shall we do? So he said, first thing you have to do is destroy all the idols. And so they did. They burned them up. And then he said, I want the whole group of you to come to this certain place called Mizpeth and Shen. And you know, the Philistines heard about it. I don't know how they didn't have phones in those days, but somehow the word always got around. The Philistines heard, hey, they're having a big group of people all together. This is great. We'll just go and kill them all. Because they're all in one place. And so the Israelites heard them coming and they were scared and they said, what can we do? And they said, please, Samuel, keep calling on the Lord, keep praying, keep calling out for us. And he did that, and the Lord heard his prayer, and he sent a thundering roar over the Philistines and put them in total confusion. And they didn't know what to do, and as they were in that weak and confused state, the Israelite soldiers came and started battling them, pushed them all the way back to where they came from, and won the victory. And you know, they had not had very many victories for a long time. And so Samuel said, we're going to commemorate this victory by building a stone altar. And they called it the Stone of Help, or Ebenezer is how it is translated. And he said, thus far, the Lord has helped us. And when I see that video, and I read your history, my office in Springfield isn't too far from the archives, so I was able to go and read all the history as well as look at your video. And caring for people has been what you're about, and still are. You know, there is a document, I was kind of looking around last night when I was here to see if we might uncover it in the cupboards back there. But under E.S. Williams in 1923, this church created the Manual of Highway Missions Tabernacle. And they gave this description of the church's foreign missionary work, believing that a consistent gospel work must ever include obedience to the Master's last great commission, go ye into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. It says, we consider ourselves a missionary people, and by our cooperation in every way possible, seek to further the gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ to the uttermost parts of the world. And then it went on to say, one object of the institution of the Christian church is being the extension of the kingdom of Jesus Christ over the world. This church, Highway Tabernacle, was called Highway Missions Tabernacle at the time, is declared to be in its entirety a missionary organization, and all its members are expected, as God gives the ability, to labor, pray, and contribute for the spread of the gospel both near and far throughout the world. Wasn't that a great statement? This is declared to be a missionary church. I don't think that declaration has ever been withdrawn, right? So this is a missionary church, and you are showing that in so many beautiful ways. Some of the missionaries you sent out from this church in the early days, I actually knew. One was a couple, Maynard and Gladys Ketchum, to India. He was actually one of my instructors at Evangel University, and his daughter and son-in-law, Marge and Ernie Jones, but you might know that name as well, I actually worked with them in Congo. So the connection is just, there are so many threads of connection with this church. One story that really caught my mind, my heart, was when this church sent out a young single woman named Margaret Maggie Peoples-Shire. I don't know if you're familiar with that name or not, but the Lord called her to be a missionary when she was 15. And she had no training at all, no Bible training, but she was an avid student of the Word of God, just read the Bible through and through, and was said to be an absolutely amazing orator of the Word of God. She met her husband along the way, Lloyd, and together the two of them went to Ghana. Now, they didn't have speed of light vehicles in those days, at least not motorized ones, so the two of them had bicycles. And they rode their bikes all over the country of Ghana. And probably what caught my attention from this story is that they realized in the outer areas, people had no health care at all. People would get sick and they would die, and the Lord put on their heart to start clinics. And so they began to start clinics all over the northern and southern part of Ghana. Many years later, I was invited by some of the American missionary nurses who were then in charge of those clinics to come and visit. And so I made a whole tour around Ghana and saw all the clinics that this church, I'm sure, was part of establishing and maintaining. Fortunately, I did not have to go by bike. We did then have a motorized vehicle to tour Ghana. So we stand here today in so many different ways to honor all that you've been able to accomplish, the wonderful leaders that you've sent out, the missionaries you've sent. And really, I think we can truly say, Ebenezer, thus far, the Lord has helped you. When I was thinking about the monument that Samuel built and the whole stone of health concept, I thought, wouldn't it be nice to present you with a stone? Believe me, when Pastor picked that up in the mail, he was kind of surprised at the weight of the package. But I went to my executive director and said, is it all right if AG World Missions presents a stone of health to celebrate 125 years? So we do have today, in case you've been wondering what's sitting up here, we do have a monument for all that God has been able to do in your midst over all these years. So this stone, I don't know exactly where you put it, but can you all see it? I don't want to drop it. That would probably be very unfortunate if it landed on the glass table. But we at World Missions want to say thank you, Highway Tabernacle, for the faithfulness that you've had and the missionaries that you've sent out, both at home and abroad. And we thank you for the way that you've always kept this a missions church. No matter what, even in the hard times, the mission offerings continue to come. And so we are grateful, so grateful. I am grateful to be part of this wonderful assembly. So we can stand on the shoulders, we can't stand on the shoulders of what's been accomplished. We can't glory in the past, but we can learn from it, we can grow from it, we can remember it as we're doing today. We can take the good things about it and bring it into our future, but we can't stay there, can we? We can't just say, oh man, let's pat ourselves on the back, we have done such great work, and you have. Our tendency is to let our expectations be defined by yesterday or deferred until tomorrow. And in Matthew 6 it says, hey, people of mine, give your attention to what God is doing right now. And don't get worked up about what may or may not happen tomorrow. God will help you deal with whatever hard times come when the time comes. I looked at your website and looked at your ministry of love and action and Next Generation Ministries. Now you have Spring Garden Academy. I love that you're partnering with Brother Finney and Resurrection Life Church. I love how you're continuing to reach out to the needy around you. You have just been doing some wonderful work for the kingdom of God. But I was reading also from the Pew Charitable Trust that Philadelphia has maintained its unenviable position as the poorest of America's biggest cities, according to this study. It paints a pretty grim picture, saying the city's poverty rate is 26%, and nearly half of the city's 400,000 poor are living below the poverty line. That means that a single family with 2 children would likely have only about $10,000 annually coming in to their household. And this is below the national threshold across our USA. I think immigrants, Hispanics account for about 38% who are living under the poverty line, with African Americans following and Asians. And that is because so many immigrants are coming to your city. And that's a good thing in so many ways, because you have the richness of so many different people coming together. But on the other hand, many of them are coming poor and not able to find work and getting further and further into poverty. There's been an uptick in murders over the past year, and 1,200 people died of drug overdose in Philly in 2017, more than any other city in the country. So although 68% of Philadelphians claimed Christianity as their religion, only 13% said they were evangelical Protestants. So though you're doing a great job, and you're reaching out, and you feel the pain and the poverty of those around you, when you hear those statistics, you realize we have to do more than we're presently doing. I also love that you're not only locally rooted, but that you're so globally minded. I put a map up there to just kind of show where you are around the world, and you are touching almost every region where we have missionaries serving. You even have 2 international ministries, which is the group that I oversee. You know, there's some really good news out there in the world as our missionaries are working, as our national churches are working so hard. we see that there is a new believer every 52 seconds somewhere in the world. Did you hear that? Every 52 seconds, under a minute, somebody is coming to Jesus and joining a church. I think that's amazing. Every 180 minutes, every 180 minutes, there's a new church planted. And you're part of those statistics because you have these people spread out all around the world. Yet, the sobering statistic that sometimes keeps me awake at night is that we are told about 3.9 billion people have never had an adequate witness of the gospel. Can you imagine that? 3.9 billion. And it is said in the hard-to-reach places of the world, about 85% of those people have never even met a Christian. So there's a lot of work to do around the world. There's a lot of work to do here in your city, in your Jerusalem. There's a lot of work to do all around the world and to the ends of the earth. A quote I've often heard is, "What I'll be tomorrow, I'm becoming today." So we ask ourselves, what does the future of Highway Tabernacle look like? And I think it has a lot to do with what you're becoming today. This church has had some wonderful pastors and leaders in the past, and now has Pastor Boucher and Perry, and we're so grateful for all that you're doing here in this church and city. I'm sure there's a great board and a great group of elders in the city, and the fact of the matter is, though, for those numbers to change, it's got to be the people sitting in the pew who make a difference. Pastor and his wife can't do it all. The board and the elders can't do it all. The mission of the church, and you are the church, is to be carried out by you. So I believe the greatest future of this church will be those of you who are sitting in the seats this morning. Thus far, the Lord has helped you. And that gives me great hope. I love that thus far, because it sort of implies to me it's been good now, but it's going to be even greater in the future. Here's what the Israelites had to do. They had to repent and get rid of their idols. They had to obey where God told them to go. And then they had to trust Him to keep them safe and to protect them. They were scared, but they knew if they kept calling out the name of the Lord, something would change, and it did. Remember the words of the handbook of Highway Mission Tabernacle. This church is declared to be, in its entirety, a missionary organization, and all its members are expected, as God gives them the ability to labor, to pray, and to contribute for the spread of the gospel both near and far. The future of Highway Tabernacle depends on what we do today. I honestly don't think there's a time for any of us to come to church on Sunday morning, be blessed, and go our way, right? It's so much more than that when we are calling ourselves the body of Christ. The city of Philadelphia needs you to labor. It needs you to pray. It needs you to contribute. The people in the city need to know Jesus, as Pastor Don said. They need to experience His love, and you know how they will best do that is when you're out there offering a cup of cold water in His name. Am I right? As you're getting involved in their lives, as you're walking their difficulties with them, it's going to make all the difference in what the future of Highway Tabernacle is. Inventive genius Thomas Edison lost his great New Jersey laboratories in an inferno fire December night in 1914. The very next morning, though, he went out and he walked around the smoldering rubble of the buildings that had housed so many of his genius projects. And Edison, who was 67 at the time, said, "There's great value in disaster. All our estates are burned up. Thank God we could start anew." Well, hopefully there will be no more fires that will come to this place. But you know, as we're commemorating this anniversary, and as we're looking back, and as we're seeing where we are today, isn't this an amazingly beautiful time to look ahead to what God would have us do in the future? What God would have you commit to for U.S. missions, for global missions, for prison ministries, what God would have you to do personally, to take yourselves out. Yes, you can write the checks and boy, we missionaries sure appreciate that. But I think it's so much more than that. It's your personal involvement with the people who are around you. There's a beautiful song. I was so pleased that our hymn sing last night. We sang this song, Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing. I don't know if you've ever actually listened to the words of that. Tune my heart to sing thy praise. Streams of mercy never ceasing, call for songs of loudest praise. But the second verse says this, Here I raise mine Ebenezer, hither by thy help I've come. Basically saying, thus far, the Lord has helped us. And you know what I was thinking? Wouldn't it be great if this congregation, who is poised to go into the 126th year and make a difference in Philadelphia and the world, would stand to your feet and say, Here I raise mine Ebenezer in commitment that I will pray, I will contribute, and I will labor. Are you going to do that? Would you stand to your feet with me today? Could you lift a hand and say, Ebenezer, God, you are our stone of help. We don't need a fake stone. We don't need any other kind of monument, because, God, you are our Ebenezer. You are our help. You are the way that this city is going to be reached. You are the way that this world is going to be reached. And these are the people who can be used by you to make that happen. Lord Jesus, we all just raise our hand in commitment today. This help that we know that you have had for us thus far, Lord, we're counting on that help to go into tomorrow and into next year and into the future. And we're counting on that help to see our city won for you, Lord Jesus. We commit ourselves right now as we raise our hands saying, I will be a part, I will labor, I will pray, I will contribute, and we will see the world won for Jesus because we are committed to do so. Lord, I thank you, Lord. Thank you for this beautiful body of believers who have made this commitment this morning. Lord, may it not just be an emotional moment, but may it be something that we determine in our hearts that we're going to be about the streets and the highways and the byways. Maybe we don't need a cart, Lord. We have wheels, but we're going to go. And we're going to see what we can do to make a difference in this world. Bless this Tabernacle, bless these people, bless Pastor and Terry, I pray. In Jesus'